How's it going, Critter Family? I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going over a video by the Healer Mama. Change your dog's gear and other random tips for walking your dog. I love to hear it, love to see it. Healer Mama is a great influence to me, as well as I'm sure many other people. So happy holidays to everybody out there. Hope you all are having a good time, whether your holidays have passed, whatever you celebrate, or whatever you are currently celebrating. Happy New Year's to everybody coming up. Hope everybody's safe out there and enjoying themselves. And do be careful with your little pets for the upcoming fireworks that people do shoot off way before and way after New Year's. So, without further ado, let's see what Mama Healer has to say.
We're going to talk about this? We're going to talk about this? So welcome back, everybody. So I wanted to go over a couple things today about walking your dog. If some of this info is like repetitive, I apologize, but you get to see the puppies. And plus, there's a bunch of new people who have joined the channel, so I figured it'd be helpful.
Oh,
Can you
wonderful.
say thank you to our new subscribers? Just say thank you?
Congrats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good thank you. You want to thank all the people that have followed you from day one?
Ow.
Tell them thank you, too.
You're fine on me. You're fine on me. Are you okay?
Yes. Say thank you, Clea. So, you want to say thank you? Good job. I've talked about this before, about changing up your gear. So if you're having issues walking your dog on, say, a regular collar, maybe try a harness. And I'm not talking about, like, you know, just one day it didn't work and you switch up your gear. Like, if you've tried for like a week or so or something, you know, maybe it's time to switch up your gear. Regarding Sully and his harness,
so I will say just a little tidbit from myself being a trainer. I do agree that sometimes, you know, one size does not fit all. When it comes to, and this is nothing against Healer Mama at all. This is just some extra advice that I want to give out, and I give out to everybody, that if one piece of equipment doesn't work, you know, still try to stay within the humane parameters of tools and equipment that you use with your dog. Meaning if they pull in a regular collar, don't go to a prong collar. And that's not at all what she's saying. She says go to a harness. You know, if your dog is pulling, and it's also not just the tool, you know, you don't want to necessarily rely on a tool. It's also, you know, the method of teaching your dog not to pull in anything. I always leave a video in the description below, and I'll try to put it up in the cards wherever they are, either here or over here, wherever it is on your screen, of how I taught my Shiba to walk in a collar, in a harness, multiple different types of harnesses, you know, to the point where he was so soft on leash that he didn't even pull on a retractable leash. You know, the retractable leash was too tight, too much tension for him. So I had to reel it out for him. I'm not saying you have to make your dogs that sensitive, but that's just what we did, because I worked on teaching him pressure and release, you know, humanely, not, you know, popping and jerking on the dog. Sorry, Ellie, did I disturb you from your bath? And you can use this technique with anything and everything. So, you know, if you don't chew on that, thank you. So if you don't have the time or the patience to teach it, then yes, absolutely go to a no pull harness. You know, this one looks like the type that's the easy walk, or something like similar to that, where there's a front clip harness where there's a clip on the front of it that twists the dog around. Over time, this can affect the dog's gait. Can, you know, it restricts the shoulders from going, you know, having their full movement. You know, it stops right here versus having full movement of your shoulder. So that's where I want to be careful about using tools, just like a head halter. People might say, oh, my dog really pulls, so I need a head halter. You may need it in the beginning for an oversized dog that's way too powerful for a smaller human. But in the end, you're relying on the tool to do the work, and you're not really teaching the dog anything. So that long tangent was just for some extra tidbits that I'm giving you. Nothing against Healer Mama.
The reason I'm bringing up changing up your gear is, you know, we switched him to a harness to help with his reactivity. The reason we did that was because, and this harness is, you can put it either having it on the back or on the front. Do you want this on? Yeah, good job. And Oh,
So let's
you
see if
gained
she
some weight. I can't get
explains.
that around you.
That was like an honest. He got a little chunky. So let's see if she explains why a dog might be more reactive in a collar versus a harness. What I would explain is a dog would be more reactive in a collar because they feel tension around their throat, which is their vital area. You know, there's blood flow. There's obviously your airway. There's thyroid glands. There's all sorts of nerve endings, and you know your opposition reflex. So dogs are more prone to pull when they feel pressure on their throat, trying to get away from that. They still pull anyway. In a regular harness is also opposition reflex, but in a collar, it kind of drives them forward more so than a harness. Um, uh, but usually when they feel that tension and even pain, you know, on their collar, when they do see something and they become more reactive because they are experiencing pain or they're losing air or they just feel more trapped this way with a collar than they do in a harness.
This way. Come over here. Over here.
Oh,
so the reason we switched to the harness was because when he's pulling, you know, when he was reactive on the collar, dogs, I can't remember the exact terminology, but, you know, it's basically if they feel that pressure on their neck, it kind of gets them more into that reactive mode.
Opposition
reflex. All those, like, nerve endings up there. But, you know, we basically got... I know. I'm like, the camera's
like, Mom, what are you doing?
Wide enough angle. But, you know, we guide him this way on the front.
So left or right.
So if he was being reactive, you know, we give the command, leave it over here, things like that, and it would be a slight tug on the front of the harness. And that helped for a really long time with him. Recently, maybe about... Okay.
So what I might do differently is I wouldn't give the word leave it as a cue before I pull him away from something, because I don't want to necessarily soil the cue. And even in that moment, he may not even be able to hear you. He may be so over threshold by the time he's reacting that he doesn't even hear that cue, or he's going to learn to think, oh, when I see a dog and I'm told to leave it, I get dragged away. You know, I don't want to do that because instinctively he wants to, you know, it's reinforcing for him to keep trying to fight whatever it is that he sees. Whether he would actually fight that when he's off leash, we don't know. It's kind of one of those things where those guys are like, hey, let me at him, as you're holding him back. And as soon as you are like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. You know, I just felt, I felt that opposition reflex going. You know, they feel tough when they're being held back, but then you let them go and they say, I don't actually want to do anything. So I would just walk him away. I wouldn't worry about saying anything at all. I wouldn't say his name. I wouldn't say leave it. I wouldn't say anything at all. You know, I might make a clicky noise or a kissy noise, an attention getter. And if you want to use his name as an attention getter, you can try it a couple of times, but I wouldn't try it over and over again because I don't want to, again, soil the cue. So I wouldn't say, Sully here. Not saying that she does that, but, you know, a lot of clients I work with do that. So I would just, you know, silently walk him away, go back a little bit of distance, and then try to stand there and reset it, and then let him just stand again in silence and let him see whatever it is that he sees. And then I might mark with a simple yes, or a good boy, or good job, or I might just stand there silently. It really just depends. Either way, he's still learning a better behavior because he's feeling comfortable to look at the other dog. He's able to stay there as long as he wants looking at the other dog, so long as he's not staring, or he's not reacting, or he's not spiraling up. If he starts to spiral up again, then that's the point when we can, you know, make a kissy noise. We're below threshold. We can get his attention again, and we can walk him away.
I don't know, like a month or two ago, he pulled so hard, and after, I think it was a cat or squirrel or something that I saw in the yard, he actually popped his leg funny, and the harness went upward. And for a while there, he actually had like a weird limp on his front leg.
Poor baby.
Which I've said this before. I don't care what you use with your dog when you're walking them. All this stuff can be dangerous. Collars, leashes, everything. Like, anything can happen with all the stuff we use to try to walk our dogs.
And especially these type of tools, because they're meant to keep your arms, they're meant to keep the dog's arms like a band like this across the shoulder. So if they start to go and pull, you know, then they can easily, they're pulling against this, and it can pop their shoulder in a weird position.
So we stopped using the harness for a while. And I'm actually really surprised at how well he's doing with just being led by the collar on him reacting with other dogs.
And let me just say that you don't necessarily have to go back to the collar, baby girl. I mean, you can if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I might do is use a different harness. Like I would use one that's like, I think they're called an X harness or maybe a Y harness. Baby's pushing buttons here. And like Rabigoo, I think it's called Rabigoo, Rabbigoo. I might have it wrong, but something along those lines. I like those type of harnesses because it allows for, it's like an X across the body. It has nice chest support, and it allows free movement of the shoulders. It doesn't restrict them, and it also has a clip on the front of it as well as the back, so you can still get your dog to move left and right, sideways. If you hear noise, it's just Ellie taking a bath on my lap. And she's right here by the Scoochies. You're falling. She's right here by the microphone, but that's what what I would suggest is going to that type of harness, so that way there's less chance that he can injure himself from the tool itself. Of course that can happen. He can slip out of it. He can hurt himself. I mean, you can, like a joke in the horse world is that you can leave a horse in a field with nothing but a stick in the middle of the field, and it could be 20 acres large. And somehow that horse will still somehow manage to injure themselves on that one little stick. So, I mean, anything can happen with, at any point. Ellie, you're falling.
Just focus on Mama, not the other puppy. I know it's a new
Good.
puppy. Gypsy, keep walking, honey.
Good boy. So as he's walking here and as he's looking, I would start talking to him. I would start, here, let me fix my baby girl. Ow! See, you're all tangled. Excuse you. Sorry, Ellie's been messing up the program. She's playing with the microphone, taking a bath on my lap. So as I'm walking with him, I would be talking to him the entire time, telling him, good boy, keep his attention on me. Let him know, if he flicks that ear in my direction, then I would know that he's listening to me. Hi. And if he just gives me that one ear, then that's okay. That's all I required of Adonis. I mean, I didn't care that he looked at me or anything like that. Some people really want that eye contact. If you do, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Adonis was just, and I'm sure very much like Sully, is just a breed that's a little bit more independent. So I don't require them to look back at me and give me eye contact every few seconds. It's a little bit more difficult to require that of the breed, in my opinion. But, I'm not saying that a Shiba or a cattle dog can't, do that for you.
Come on, we're going to keep walking. Good boy, Sully.
Good, excellent.
Yes, good job.
And she's doing a good job talking to him.
There's the little puppy.
Oh, what a cutie little Brittany
excellent.
looks like.
Good boy.
So I'd be making noises. I almost instinctively was like,
You did so good.
to keep him going.
Here, come over here.
And a sniff is a good reward for
This way.
him after that. That was a perfect way to reinforce him for being calm. She talked to him. People say I talk too much. I talk to my animals too much. But, I like to let them know when they're doing something well, because they've been bred and created to work with humans. I want them to know that they're doing a good job.
Harness doesn't fit no more because of the cookies. Yay, no drill today. Oh, no, I spoke too soon.
Oh, no.
But it's always a good idea to, change things up to see what's going to be beneficial for your dog.
Sure.
And I know in that clip he's still lip licking, but his tail isn't as erect when he saw that dog, and
He did
his hair
amazing.
isn't standing up on.
I think
all
he did
ends. So
great.
he's doing really well with just being led by the collar. I will readjust this and also use this for other situations, because there is some things I still want to do with him. There's always things I want to do with him because
Sure.
he's just a special boy when it comes to walking and reacting to people. But
And training is for the lifetime of your dog. Training is management.
for the most
Nothing
part,
wrong with that.
He does what you saw in the video. He's anxious, but he walks still very well. Like, he wasn't even locked on his leash. Usually I have the leash locked, or I used to always lock the leash when we were walking, but I've been testing the waters with keeping it unlocked on him, and he's been doing excellent. I sometimes wonder, for those who watched the last video on reactivity, if that day when I went to the meet and greet with my friend and her dog, if the harness wasn't
You pushed the button.
part of
You're pushing buttons.
why he reacted so badly to the situation, because he's still associating this, I think, with the pain, because cattle dogs never forget anything. They remember things forever. Like, there's still a house we walk by that dog that charged at him once, like 2 years ago, they don't even live there anymore. He still watches that house, like, for that dog. But anyway.
And people try to say that dogs don't have PTSD. I mean, they can. They can definitely have traumatic experiences that they remember.
So some other tips that I would suggest when it comes to walking your dog is, one, to let them sniff.
Good, absolutely.
I see a lot of trainers online telling people that your dog needs to be by your side the whole time.
No, that's ridiculous. That's nonsense.
Because if you let them sniff and walk in front of you, that they're being dominant over you. That's complete
nonsense.
BS.
Absolutely.
Let your dog sniff. They
Amen.
have such a short life. Let them enjoy the world that they're living in. Like, let them.
And that's their world, is smelling, and that's socializing, and that's desensitizing, and that's them living the life of a dog. Like, if a human was never allowed to use a cell phone, or for me, if I was never allowed to have pets, pets are my life. Animals are my life. They really do help with my mental health, my social health, my social life. They are just terrific. So if I were never able to that's my personal my personality, is that I really love having pets around. And that's just part of who I am as an individual. But for dogs, as a broader spectrum, for them to not be able to sniff and enjoy their life, it's just really sad. So I hate this whole super controlling trainer BS. It's just nonsense.
Smell the smells, It's like,
you're a good boy.
I don't understand that mentality. And I do think it's important to teach your dog to walk by your side. Like, I think it's important to teach heel and to let, and teach them that, they should be walking with you.
Absolutely.
But like any dog training, I think you should do it in baby steps.
Yes.
Start off with having your dog walk by your side, and then start letting them explore. The walk should be enjoyable and fun, and they should be able to sniff. Like, it helps them so much, mental, stimulation, all that stuff. Like, they deserve to smell all the nasty stuff, all the fun stuff, It's like, I don't understand that mentality. And since we're on the topic of,
and I actually end up doing the opposite. I will end up, you can see how far my microphone has moved, so hopefully you can hear me okay. But I end up doing the opposite, where I will let my dog have more freedom, and then we work our way closer and closer up to me, because it's like training wheels. You're falling. Don't get mad at me. Here. Where you start with them on a loose leash, and then you work your way, teaching a dog to loose leash walk without pulling is like the training wheels, and you work your way up to heel, which is a lot more demanding.
Letting your dog sniff, you should also let them pee. I've seen other dog trainers online tell people that you should not let your dogs pee. Like, you shouldn't let your dogs mark, especially, your male dogs. They shouldn't be allowed to mark the territory. I don't understand where that theory or concept came from.
It's just more over controlling nonsense of people. I've actually heard recently that dogs mark not only as a way to mark their territory, but as a way to leave breadcrumbs for coming back home. So wherever they've been, if they're in a new area, they're going to pee a lot more on it. Maybe as a way of saying, hey, this is mine, that's mine, this is mine, this is mine. But also, if they get lost and they say, oh, this smells familiar, this is me, let me continue to follow the breadcrumb trails and find my way home where I pee the most. So that can also be very helpful for them.
And, it's not only males that mark. Female dogs mark
absolutely
spots too. Like, especially my girls, like, Gypsy will straight up, like, flick her butt up in the air, and she's only on her, like, 2 front feet trying to pee on a light pole. And I've never had behavioral issues on walks for letting your dogs mark the area.
No.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me, why trainers are telling people this. And if you're using treats
and just
for praise,
just because a trainer says something, just because they're a trainer, doesn't make it true, doesn't mean it's one and all. Is that very comfortable for you? Okay. She's just resting her little head on the my keyboard. She doesn't look very comfortable. I'm certainly not comfortable. I'm holding her up with my legs on my tippy toes, but the things we do for love.
In the walk, my best advice is to definitely wean them off, because, you know, if your dog is anything like my Sully, who is very food motivated, he definitely expects the treat when he does good. So I've had to switch it up to where it's either you get the treat or you get the butt scratch. And also, if your dog is an extreme puller on walks, take it in baby steps. Stop the walk. Like, if the dog is pulling, stop walking, call them back over to you, do some sort of exercise with them or communication with them at that point. And once they've calmed down and you can tell they're not pulling as much, start the walk again. And I know that can be difficult, especially if you've got a reactive dog. Like, obviously, I know
takes time.
That's like, you know, Mr. Man has definitely yanked me pretty hard at things at times.
Sure.
I guess my last tip for walking your dog is start off in, oh, what's the correct term? Less crazy areas. Like, I always start leash walking with my kids.
Start under look at that little face. Start under threshold. Start in as low of a stimulating area as you can. If that's in your backyard, then do that there. If it's in your front yard, start there. You know, in the house, start there with the door open and work your way up to further. You're so cute, baby girl. Work your way to further and further up the. Work your way further and further up to the distraction ladder, if you will. But start below threshold where your dog is able to listen to you and do tricks and able to walk loose on leash or just sniff the leaves on the ground. You know, they're not trying to pull and go crazy. Start there and then work your way up to more and more distractions. If you have a blow up at any point during the distractions, go back to the previous step.
In our own yard, because there's less distractions. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Less distractions. So I'm always practicing in my yard first. I'm doing short walks at first to start exposing them to this world, because this world has a bunch of crazy in it. So, I mean, I like to do things in baby steps, and I know that's not a popular thing for some people. They want their dog to be able to walk perfectly right away.
That's entitlement, and you don't deserve that.
The dog,
you shouldn't have a dog.
Learning, like, especially if you have a puppy. Oh, and one more thing about switching up the gear, which I probably should have said this earlier, but I don't take very good notes when I do these videos. Not all dogs are going to like harnesses.
Yeah.
Clea, she is, 6 years old. She cannot stand having a harness on her at all. Like,
I've worked with dogs like that.
And even my past crew, my boys, neither one responded well to a harness at all. Like, when we were trying to stop them from pulling, we had to go to the more, as some people would put it, you know, evil methods, violent
aversive
methods. But I wasn't trained with those methods like the trainers I see online. We've talked about that in previous videos, but you know, sometimes it's not going to work when you switch up the gear. Even Silver, when she went blind, so many people yelled at me that I was doing harm by her, by leading her by her collar, that, you know, blind dogs should always be on a harness. She took her harness, and we had it as tight as possible. Like, I barely could get a finger through. And she ninja'd her way out of it every time. She was so pissed off having that harness on her. What worked with her was hearing bracelets on my hand. That's what she wanted. She wanted to hear Mom, and she walked with me that way.
That's
but
cool.
She hated the harness too. She absolutely despised it. Like, it was a fight, a struggle.
Don't play with the monitor.
It wasn't worth putting. She figured it out on her own. So don't let people, like, bully you into thinking you're doing wrong by your dog, because if it's working,
you know your dog best
for your dog, and your dog is happy, healthy, not being harmed by whatever you're using, I think that's the best way to go. Hi, Gypsy. Got all these cow dogs cuddled around me. I wanted them up here so you could see. At least Clea's butt's back there, you can see. I just realized I had the extra lamp on this whole time, and I'm probably going to look washed out, but that doesn't matter.
Hopefully I don't look washed out. I'm trying to upgrade my stuff as much as I can, but
we don't do professional videos here. Anyway, I hope you all are well. I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember to click all the buttons.
Don't paw at it. No, baby girl, no, don't paw at it. Thank you. No, thank you. No. I know you don't need to. Ellie's trying to say hi to you, Healer Mama. She's trying to brush your hair for you, or paw at your face. She's chasing your hands. So, all right. Well, since she's going to end that video there, I'm going to end that video here. I know everything is wobbling all over the place. Hopefully you are doing well. We're all over the place today. Thanks for watching. Hope you all are indeed doing well. Say hello to your little critters for me. Say howdy-do to them yourselves. And until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.